Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phay, and welcome to the channel. So, what's the best material to use to make a ninja suit? Leather. It's made out of hide. Today, we're taking a look at Stalker, the board game from Awaken Realms. In Stalker, the board game from Awaken Realms, 1 to 4 players are basically going to be maneuvering around different sites of Chernobyl. You're going to be exploring different anomalies. You're going to be going up against humans, mutants, and you got a wide variety of missions and objectives that you have to try to complete for this game. Now, there is a lot going on in this game. There are several modes of play for this game. There's like your your zone survival mode. Then there's the campaign mode. Okay, there's a ton, but I'm going to cover all that in my final thoughts. So I'll tell you what. Let me give you a really brief explanation on how to play this game, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. So the first thing you need to do is you need to set it up and figure out what mode you're going to play in. Are you going to play campaign mode or are you going to play zone survival mode? Okay, the way you set up the game, that's going to determine that. But once that's done, the basic gameplay is basically the same. Okay, so I'm just going to assume that you've already set up the game for whatever mode you want to play it in. All right, now when you play the game, you're going to have a basic objective that you're going to have to try to complete. To complete that objective, you're going to be roaming around the site. It might be killing a boss. It might be trying to collect something. We're going to ignore all of that for right now. We're just going to cover some of the basic stuff in this game. All right. On your player board, you're going to have your character, which is in the middle, and they're going to have their special abilities. You're going to be able to equip some weapons to them, some armor to them, and they might even have attachments. You're going to have your pockets, which you can put some stuff, and then you got your backpack, which you can put up to 6 items in that. And then you have a space where you can actually put some artifacts if you can happen to gain those. All right. And usually when the game starts, you have X amount of money, you can buy different equipment, different gear, and you're ready to go. All right. So on your turn, what are you going to be able to do? Well, you're going to have 2 different turns, but you're going to have like 2 actions per turn unless you're playing solo, and then you'll have 3. And so how it works is you're going to have a little slider. And when it's your turn, you're going to be able to slide that slider down 1 space, take an action, slide down another space, take that action, and then the next player is going to go. It's going to come back to you, and you're going to repeat that same process until everyone's had their turn. But what can you do? You can move, all right, which means you can move up to 3 spaces, but you also, there's some attention rules you have to pay attention to, to go through enemies' line of sight. We'll cover more on the enemies here in a minute. You have careful movement, which means you can actually move from one point to another point, but you don't have to worry about putting an attention marker down on the board, which is really nice. You can prepare, which means you can gain the little eyeball token. I can never remember what those things are called, like your alert token or something. No, it's not your alert. I can't remember. But you can also get the bolts as well. Okay, and you can also, if you're in the space with somebody else, you can trade at that point, and you can also move your equipment and stuff around. You can reload. You can reload a weapon. You can so if your ammo's running low, you can do a reload, so that way you make sure you have enough ammo. So that way, if you have to do combat again, you're not going to run out of bullets. You can pick up any item if you're in an anomaly space in the center where you can try to get an artifact and you have the stuff for that, you can try to do that. Or if you're in a space that has item tokens, you don't know what they are, you can do a pickup, flip it over, and you can see what that is. There's a bolts and nuts phase, okay, and that's at a range of 3. And what you can be able to do is you can be able to put your bolts and nuts on different spaces of the anomalies. And that means when you run through those anomalies, you're not going to have to roll the dice to see if any bad stuff happens. And I'll cover more on that in a little bit as well. There's a decoy action you can take, which means you can, if you don't have your red alert token on the board, you can put your attention token on the board, and that basically is going to try to draw all the bad guys to that location rather than where you're at. Well, decoy, you know what the word means. And then there's a knife, which means if you're at range 0, you're in the same space as an enemy, you can just pull out your knife and you can just, well, knife them, okay? Try to take them out. And that's the whole point, is you need to try to get these bad guys off the board, or else they're just going to hunt you down. And that's all the basic actions you can do. Now, all the actions that you take, if it requires an action, it's going to have the little box with the little triangle on top. If it's got a flat line across the top, then that's a free action. Okay, free actions, you can take as many of those on your turn as you need to, and there's not a lot of things you can do in your free action. All right, and that's the stuff that you can do. But how does a turn work? A turn's going to work by basically you're going to start off with an event phase. You're going to draw an event card, and every scenario is going to tell you how many event cards are in the game. And usually when the event cards run out, well, that's your timer. You have that many rounds to get everything done. So you draw the event card and you do what the event card says. It may be good, it may be bad. Some of the event cards are going to have little pluses on the top, or they're going to have little minuses on the top. And if I remember correctly, the pluses make the game a little easier, but the minuses make the game a little bit harder. So theoretically, if you want an easier game, take all the red ones out of the deck and you don't got to worry about them. All right, just my personal opinion. Then you have your player phase, which you can do all those different actions. Now, like I said, you're doing 2 actions, and it's next player's turn. You're doing 2 actions once everyone finishes that, and then you guys are done. If you're playing solo, there's a little overlays you're going to put in on your board, and then you're going to be able to do 3 actions per turn because, well, you're by yourself, and you need those extra actions. Then you're going to go into the enemies and zone phase. Now, depending on whether you're playing zone survival mode or campaign mode, it's basically the same except for the very ending of it. You're going to draw and resolve an activation card. All right. Now, it depends upon the card that you draw. It depends upon what tokens are on the board. If the red alert token's on the board anywhere, you're going to draw from the red stack. If there's no red alert tokens on the board, you draw from the yellow stack. And those cards you're actually going to always do from the top down. Okay, so you start at the top and you look and see if it affects any of the characters on the board or the creatures on the board, and then you're going to deal with that, and then you're going to keep on going. And sometimes they may have to attack. If the creatures have to attack you, then you're going to look at their board, and it's going to show how much damage you take, and then you can roll your defenses and see how much damage. If you get down to 0 points of damage or health, okay, then you're going to take a critical hit, which means you're going to put a critical hit token on one of your slider spaces. If you take a second critical hit, you're going to put it on the second space, which means now you only have 1 action per turn. If you take a third critical hit, you're dead. If any one character dies, game's over. Okay, everybody has to survive in Chernobyl. Nobody can be left behind. Get everybody out. All right. Then you're going to suffer radiation exposure. So you deal with your radiation. Look at your Geiger counter. See if you're going to have to roll any dice. See if you're going to have to take any damage or anything from that. You're going to reduce the attention of any of the stalkers, okay, that isn't an enemy's line of sight. So if your attention marker is out there, it's not an enemy's line of sight, you're either going to remove it or you're going to flip it over to its yellow side. Then you're going to resolve end of round effects. Now, that's only if you're playing campaign. If you're actually playing in zone survival, and I have to get my little cheat sheet up here for that, then there's one more step you're going to do, and that's you're going to roll the anomaly dice. And you're going to resolve any corresponding fate triggers, which means if anybody's on any of the spaces with the anomalies, something bad's going to happen. If you roll the red symbol, then the creature tokens, the stacks that you usually are going to be putting on the board, you're going to have to flip over those, and you're going to have to deal with those. Once that's done, then you're going to start another round. So that's really the only thing you're doing is you're resolving that fate triggers aspect at the very end of the game. Okay, but that's basically the turn in a nutshell. You're going to keep doing that. Now, the thing with this game to pay attention to is enemies' line of sight. Enemies have a direct facing, and if you look at their character card, it's going to actually show what their line of sight is. Okay, it's going to say how far they can see in front of them, behind them, and to the sides of them. Now, line of sight in this game is kind of really funky because basically you're going to keep going in a straight line, and even if you go from a small room to a wider room back down to a smaller room, they're still going to be able to see through all that as long as it's in a straight line and it's a number of distance. Now, the characters you play, your stalkers, they have unlimited range. All right, so front, back, they don't have to deal with facing or nothing else. So since facing is very huge in this game, you need to make sure that your creatures are always facing in the correct direction because you need to know what's going on. Okay, and that's basically it. It's a real fast run through. I definitely know that, but there is a ton going on in this game. But you're going to keep going round and round and round until you can complete your objective. If you can successfully complete your objective, then you win Stalker, the board game. Okay, folks, that was a super high level explanation on how to play the game. It was basically just going over the different actions you can take and whatnot. There's so much stuff out there on this game, and there's so much to this game that it would take 2 or 3 videos just to try to cover all the rules and really go in depth. Okay. Now, I know you can get more of that information out. And I kind of basically just want to talk about the game itself without spending too much time on hashing out rules again, because I think that's what a lot of people at this point want to know is, what do people think about this game? Because this is a big game. I mean, this is a big, look at that. This is a big game. This is a heavy game. It can be a long game. It can also be a fast game too, just once you really understand it. Now, the thing with this game is, this is a really tricky game to learn how to play because there is a lot of little things to this game that you have to try to remember. It is a big, heavy rule book, all right? And so trying to figure out everything to do and remembering everything to do can be kind of tricky. There is like a quick little rules reference in the back of the rule book, which you can go down, which is actually kind of nice. There's a whole lot more I wish it would cover. I almost wish there was like a couple sheets that it wasn't on a rule book. It was just handouts. Here you go. Here's some more in-depth stuff. Here's some rules explanations and stuff like that. That would have been really nice for this game because I find that I'm going back to this rule book a lot, trying to remember how to do different things. Some of the stuff, once you kind of remember how to do it, it's not so bad. But like I said, there is a lot to this game. Now, one of the things that I do like about this game is I think there is a really cool puzzle to this game. All right. And figuring out that puzzle is really hard because those event cards are going to mess you up every single time. Because on the event cards, you don't know which one of the creatures are going to activate every turn. Now, let me rephrase this as well. I've only played Zone Survival Mode. All right. I've played this a couple times now. And the thing with the Zone Survival Mode is, depending on what scenarios you're doing, depends on how the setup's going to be, and it's going to depend on the characters that are going to be on the board. Okay, so for example, if you're doing like, say, Kill the Boss one, which I think is number 7, okay, basically what you're trying to do on that one there is you just need to kill the main boss. You need to try to get out, okay, and that's actually the one too that they recommend that you start learning how to play. I think it's probably the easier of all of them to really understand what your main objective is. Okay. So that is just a matter of running around trying to get what you need to be able to try to take down that boss. Now, one of the things about this game that's really, really hard to do is combat. You need to make sure that you have weapons that are going to be able to damage your opponents. Because the thing is a lot of the characters only have like one pointed down, one hit point. That's it. But if you look at the character cards, when you roll the dice, you have to have X number of stars in order to even do 1 hit point of damage to them. Okay, so for example, some of the characters, it's like you may have to do like say 6 stars. 6 stars is going to equal 1 hit, and then you're good to go. Okay, he dies, take him off the board. But the thing is, sometimes rolling those 6 stars, even on 5 dice, is not easy to do. So when you're knifing someone, you're going to roll 3 green dice by default. All right, if you can get some other dice in there, great. But those 3 green dice, you have to roll all 2s or a 3 and a 2 and a 1, or you got to get lucky. Me and my buddy Chris, we played this the other night, and we couldn't roll enough stars to kill anything to save our life, no matter how many dice we were rolling. They were just bad. We just kept getting just mobbed by all the creatures all the time. So it is really hard. It's one of those games where if you can, you really want to try to sneak around. Throw your decoy out there. Try to get the bad guys going somewhere else while you're running someplace. It's that kind of not necessarily hidden movement, but you're trying to sneak around the board. And that's one of the things you need to do in this one. You need to, a lot of times, really just sneak around the board. Fight only when you have to. Because if you get your alert token out there, they're just going to swarm you. And if they swarm you, well, you're toast. You're toast. Because this is a hard game. This is a really hard game to win. But it's a fun game. I think it's a very fun game. Now, would I recommend this game? Okay. Yes and no. Okay. That's the thing. This is, as far as Awakened Realms games go, to me, this feels like about the heaviest game I've played of theirs. And I've played ISS Vanguard, which I think is kind of close as well. But there's a lot going on in this game. And where this one gets super heavy to me is in the Zone Survival mode, which is what I want to play. Now, the coolest thing about the Zone Survival mode is there's 10 maps and there's 10 different scenarios. And you can play any scenario with any map, so there's a combination of 100 different games that you can theoretically play, with everyone being totally different. On top of that, the event cards, there's like 80 event cards or something like that, maybe 50. But you're only using 10 or 11 or so every game, and they're always randomized. So every game you play is going to have totally different events in it as well. And if you're like me, you're going to play like 11 events, 10 or 11 events. And then when you go play the next game, those 10 or 11 events you just played, they're not even in the deck that you're drawing. You're drawing totally new ones. Once you make it through that entire deck after X number of plays, then you shuffle it all back together and rinse and repeat. I like to do that because then it makes every game totally unique. I don't keep seeing the same one come around until after I've reshuffled them back in. So that's what I really like. So the zone survival really adds gameplay to this. The campaign isn't a long campaign. The campaign's only, I think it's like 3 different scenarios that you have to do, and that's what completes your campaign. Then you reset, and the game comes with 2 basic campaigns. There's 3 steps for A and 3 steps for B. Like I said, I haven't played the campaign. I haven't even opened my campaign boxes yet, and I'm not going to do that till I'm ready. And I don't really want to play the campaign till I really fully understand how to play the game. And that's the other part about this game that's really tough. Fully understanding this game, fully understanding how all the different anomalies work, fully understanding how all the radiation works. Because you got to go through the radiation zones. You got your Geiger counter. The radiation's not as bad. The anomalies are probably the trickier one. Okay, but that's it. Do I recommend the game? Like I said, yes and no. If you like a really good, heavy game that is a heck of a puzzle, this is a great game. I think this is a phenomenal game. And I know I'm keeping this game. So this is my personal copy. I bought it. I end up backing this. So this is my crowdfunding copy. Okay. I'm definitely keeping this game because I really like this game. But this is a game when I sit down and play it, I know I'm going to be there for a few hours because it's a heck of a puzzle. I'm going to take my time and I'm going to try to figure some stuff out, and I'm going to enjoy doing it. I know my buddy Chris is the same way. Him and I can sit there and we can just spend quite a while playing it and have a lot of fun. Okay. So I'm definitely going to keep the game for that. If you don't like those super heavy games, then this is probably not the game for you. And I know I've actually played I think it's Metal Gear. Metal Gear, it kind of reminds me of this. It's not Chernobyl, but it kind of gives me that same feel, but on a lighter level. And that one's more of a campaign game. It does have some individual scenarios, but that one's more campaign. And I really like that game as well. So if you don't want the super, super heavy game, go look at Metal Gear. But to me, I've got both games, and both are staying in my collection because Metal Gear I can get out and if I want to play a lighter game. But if I really want to play that heavy, super hard, puzzly game, this is it. Like I said, I love this game. I think it's a phenomenal game. It's not for everybody. It's definitely a try before you buy. It's definitely go watch a bunch of rules videos. Probably don't want to watch this video for the rules. I just kind of gave you an idea of what you can do on your turn. But other than that, I think it's a great game. Just not a game for everybody. Well, thank you once again for joining me today. As always, I please ask you to like this video on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on Facebook, or on X, and leave me a comment on any one of those platforms, and I'll get to those comments just as soon as I can. And also, if you like the videos that I provide and you haven't subscribed to my channel, I humbly ask you to go ahead and click on that subscription button, join my little family, and even click on that bell and be notified when I drop new videos. Also, if you like the content I provide here, I also do post videos over on the Discriminating Gamers channel. Over there, I'll post reviews, some unboxings, and we'll do some playthroughs over there as well. I'll leave a link to Cody's channel in the details down below. You know, the other day I watched my wife carry a fully ironed basket of laundry, and then she tripped. I watched it all unfold.